The following episode will contain the names of people and places set in the fictional world of the Hyborian Age. With that in mind, be aware that Stephen has an uncanny knack for pronouncing many of these names incorrectly. Listener discretion is advised.
You know who you are?
Stephen is my name.
Even Stephen.
Will you say something, Stephen?
Stephen Orhouse Media.
As Conan travels west, he is accosted by bandits, he is bitten by a venomous snake, and he comes face to face with a great big dragon. Sort of. Hello and welcome to Hither Came Conan, the podcast that's treading the jeweled thrones of Hyboria beneath its sneakered feet, one comic book at a time. I'm your host, my name is Stephen, and, you know, I'm kind of tired of trying to come up with something clever to say here in this intro, each and every time. And when I say that I'm tired of it, really I just mean that I actually can't think of anything clever, so instead I'm going to pretend that I just don't want to do it. So there.
Well, that's mature.
Anyway, today we're jumping feet first into Conan the Barbarian number 39 from Marvel Comics. This issue sports a cover date of June 1974, though it hit the stands in March. It sold for just 25 cents, and it is entitled The Dragon from the Inland Sea. It was written by Roy Thomas with art by John Buscema. The letters were by John Costanza, and the colorist was Glynis Wein.
Into the boat!
Conan is traveling west to Zamora when he is waylaid by a passel of surly bandits. And though he kills them all, his horse breaks its leg, and then the Cimmerian is bitten by a venomous snake. Conan tries to carry on, but the snake venom has other ideas, and soon he collapses and blacks out. Fortunately, the barbarian is rescued by Rachalla, a young woman traveling with her uncle, Ben-Husal, who, it turns out, just happens to be the lord of the small village Kishan on the coast of the Viliot Sea. That is, he was the lord of the small village of Kishan on the coast of the Viliot Sea. Now he's been run out by a priest of Erlik by the name of Gul Azalel. The priest had convinced Ben-Husal to begin sacrificing virgins to a sea dragon to end a curse of death that had infected the town over the past year. When the sacrifices were unsuccessful, and when Gul Azalel demanded the sacrifice of Ben-Husal's niece Rachalla, well, the two beat feet, leaving the town to the dark priest. However, the two have had word that the priest has died and that it was safe to return, and so they ask for Conan's assistance, just in case shit goes sideways and they need a strong sword at their side.
Well, this mission has gone pear-shaped indeed.
Conan agrees, and the three set off, only to find themselves caught in Gul Azalel's trap when they enter the village, and they are captured. The two men are tied to stakes, while Rachalla is chained to a rock in the sea as sacrifice for the sea dragon. Conan rips his stake from the ground, slips from the ropes, and makes his way to Rachalla as a giant crocodile emerges from the ocean. Conan stabs it and lures it to the shore and towards Gul Azalel. The creature devours the priest, and sated, returns to the sea, ending the curse. As the issue ends, Rachalla reveals that the reason why Ben-Husal originally fled rather than confront Gul Azalel, well, turns out the mad priest was Ben-Husal's brother and Rachalla's father. That's right, the guy wanted to sacrifice his own daughter. All right, so while this issue was inspired by the Prince Valiant newspaper strip, it is not actually based on any existing story, which means old Roy came up with this one all by himself. However, and we'll get into the Prince Valiant thing in a moment, hold on. What Roy did do was base Conan's next move on L. Sprague de Camp's informal biography of Conan the Cimmerian, which had Conan travel to Zamora after leaving the employ of the Turanian army. And so, yeah, that's where Conan's headed when the issue opens. As for the Prince Valiant inspiration, it turns out that both Roy and Buscema were big fans of Harold Hal Foster, who not only created Prince Valiant, he was also the writer and the artist. Well, it seems that in one of the early strips, the prince and his chum Sir Gawain encounter a dragon, which was really nothing but just a big old crocodile. And Roy, after getting this Conan gig for Marvel, had been itching to have Conan come up against a dragon crocodile of his own. And so this is the issue. He was finally able to put that concept into play. And in fact, had sent Buscema copies of the Prince Valiant strips, you know, the ones in which the dragon appeared, and asked him to literally swipe some of those Hal Foster crocodile poses and whatnot for this issue of Conan. And I guess Buscema obliged. Of course, in his book, Barbarian Life, a literary biography of Conan the Barbarian, Volume 1, Roy justifies the swiping. Quote, "I also decided that I didn't want to hide the precise comic strip inspiration of the battle. In fact, I wanted to revel in it. After all, I had seen more than one comic book artist swipe one or more of Foster's crocodile poses from that strip when he needed a croc for a jungle scene, rather than going to actual photos of such beasts. Thus, I sent John Buscema photocopies of the 2 relevant Sunday strips, and said I'd like him to use that crocodile, that size, etc. for the dragon in the written plot I also sent him." He then continues, "He probably thought me crazy to ask him to use a couple of Foster swipes in the story, but I explained to him that I wanted us to do an homage to Foster's sequence, and he accepted that." So yeah, what do you think? Justified? Not justified? I always hear that if it's done in homage, then it's cool. Frankly, I honestly don't care either way. What about you? Let me know. Feedback at hithercameconan.com. But with that said, grab up your copies of Conan the Barbarian number 39, because we are about to dive. All right, the cover for this issue is a Gil Kane cover, inked by Ernie Chan. I really want to like this cover, but I don't know. There's just something that doesn't feel, it doesn't feel like it was put together very well, in my opinion. Looking at the cover, it's basically Conan standing over Rachalla, who is chained to a rock on the shore of this inland sea. And there's a giant crocodile bursting out of the water. Conan's holding a wicked, double-bladed, half-moon axe. Rachalla, of course, is half-naked. Not as bad as a lot of the ladies they've been showing on these covers, but despite the fact that before she ends up being captured by her father and chained to this rock, she is very fully clothed. There's not much of her skin showing, but I guess when they throw a woman on a rock to sacrifice to a dragon, they got to rip up her clothes so she looks, I don't know, sexy for the dragon. I don't understand. Maybe they're trying to imply, maybe Roy's trying to imply that some of the men had their way with her. I don't know, because this is how she is portrayed within the issue as well. Once she is captured and thrown onto the rock, her dress is all ripped up and whatnot. But yeah, we'll get to that when we get to that. But here on the cover, it's telling us that this is the dragon from the inland sea. And we have a little blurb here in the bottom left-hand corner, a little circle blurb that says, "Now more than ever, the greatest sword and sorcery comic of all time." Which is not hype. It was very popular. We've talked about that. Very popular book. Getting into the issue, page 1 of the story is a splash page. We have Conan. He's heading west, and he comes across some bandits, or some bandits come across him. And this splash page is just Conan on horseback. There are 4 bandits around him, and they have stopped him from moving forward. And they actually say, "Halt, stranger, stand and deliver," which always makes me think of the Dennis Moore sketch from Monty Python.
"Stand and deliver! Drop that gun!"
Let that be a warning to you all. You move at your peril, for I have 2 pistols here. I know one of them isn't loaded anymore, but the other one is, so that's one of you dead for sure. Well, just about for sure anyway. It certainly wouldn't be worth your while risking it, because I'm a very good shot.
But yeah, we got the title, The Dragon from the Inland Sea, based on the hero created by Robert E. Howard. But again, this wasn't based on any particular story. This is all Roy. And I'm not trying to say, when I said that earlier, I felt like I was trying to say, or I felt like it came across more as a this is a terrible story and it's all Roy. But it's not the case. It's not a terrible story. I really enjoyed this one, but we'll get to that. So Conan is waylaid by these bandits. They want him off the horse to give them all of his valuables. He explains to them, however, that he has traded everything that he owns, apart from his sword and his horse, just for food and water. And the bandits like, hey, we'll take your horse and we'll take your sword and your food and your water. We're going to take it all, brother. Conan, of course, is not going to let that happen because he's fucking Conan, right?
You're Conan. You're the destroyer.
And so he starts fighting all of these bandits, 4 of them, as I said. Somebody, or one of them, tries to creep up behind Conan. Basically, when we get on the second page, Conan's sitting on horseback, right? And these bandits are surrounding him. And the lead bandit is talking to Conan. And Conan realizes, because he's smart, he knows shit. He knows how frickin' tactics are done, right? He was a thief. He knows shit. But he realizes that the lead bandit, he's talking in kind of a slow, measured way. Feels like he's kind of delaying stuff and trying to distract Conan. And Conan knows that if that's happening, obviously somebody's sneaking up behind him. He turns slightly, sees a guy sneaking up behind him, and he kicks him in the face.
Hello, Mr. Bandit.
It's at that point he draws his sword and the battle begins. Conan, being Conan, kills them all. And in fact, during the battle, one of the bandits actually gets away. He manages to climb on Conan's horse and is fleeing when the horse, galloping away in its mad dash to get away from Conan, steps in a snake hole and breaks its leg, throwing this bandit from its back. Conan then grabs up a dagger, which he had killed one dude with. He basically pulls the dagger out of the guy's heart and then throws it at the guy that's fleeing, hits him in the back. The guy dies. Conan goes over to the horse and he realizes there's nothing he's going to be able to do. There's nothing he can do for this horse. You know, if this were a Western, Conan would pull the rifle off the saddle, shoot the horse in the head, or, pull his pistol from his holster, shoot the horse in the head, end its misery. Conan, however, doesn't have a gun, so he just takes his sword and I don't know if he cuts the horse's head off. They don't really show it. It's obvious that he is going for the horse's throat, but he does a downward chop with his sword. So I don't know if I don't know. I don't know what happened there. They don't show it. I don't know why I'm curious either. I just am for some weird, crazy, evil, dark reason. But Conan goes over to the bandit that he had just killed to retrieve his dagger.
Thank you, Mr. Bandit.
The bandit is laying atop this snake hole. And as Conan removes the dagger, it moves the body just enough for the snake to come wriggling out of the hole. And the snake's pissed, right? First, a freaking horse stuck its foot, big old hoof, right into its den, right into its little hole, right into its home. And then some dude dies on top of his house. Snake's pissed. So the body is moved slightly. The snake springs from the hole and immediately clamps onto Conan's arm, biting him right in the forearm, just below the wrist, in fact. Conan, of course, again, being Conan, I mean, what are you going to do? He's got a dagger. Snake bit him. He kills the snake. It's kind of a weird, I don't know. I find it kind of odd that the snake bites him and he just stabs the snake like, 6-7 inches below where its head is, just somewhere randomly on the snake's body. You think he would have grabbed that snake and just cut its head off. But I don't know. That's kind of a stupid, nitpicky thing for me to bring up, right? Anyway, Conan does what he can with the wound, the snake bite. He knows he can already feel the venom coursing through his blood. And so he ties his arm off, to stop the flow of the blood going from the bite to his heart. And he slices open the bite a bit more and then tries to suck out all the venom. But he doesn't get it all. And eventually he continues to wander west on foot. And eventually he passes out from fever because of the venom.
Hither Came Conan will return after these messages.
I'm scaling this wall just as easily as I can walk. My fingers alone are adhering, supporting me.
The Amazing Spider-Man, created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, has conquered every medium, from newspaper strips to the silver screen. But he began his life in a pulp periodical destined for cancellation. Let's explore these beginnings together. The Amazing Spider-Man from the Very Beginning, a brand new podcast on Spotify.
There's some sort of danger here, but what?
Hey there, comic fans and children of the 80s. My name is Steven, and I would like to invite you to join me on another G.I. Joe podcast. If you grew up yelling, "Yo, Joe!" or flipping through dog-eared issues of G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, this is the show for you. Each episode, we're tackling one issue of the classic Marvel comic series, starting all the way back in 1982. We'll break down the stories, the artwork, the characters, the wild twists, the covert missions, everything that made this series one of the most surprisingly rich comic runs of the decade. We'll follow the rise of Snake Eyes, the schemes of Cobra Commander, the battles, the vehicles, the ninjas, the chaos, and the totally over-the-top, totally awesome storytelling that defined 80s action. Whether you're reliving your childhood or discovering these comics for the first time, I'm here to guide you through it all with excitement, insight, and plenty of nostalgia. So grab your gear and join the team, because the mission begins now. Yo, Joe!
And now back to Hither Came Conan.
When he wakes, he's in a tent. He's been rescued by Ben Husal and his niece, Rachalla. Though there's a panel here on page 7 of the story that, depending on which version of this you're reading, because I have 3 different versions here in front of me. I have the original, I have the version that Titan put out recently, and then I have what appears to be a Marvel re-release where they recolored it, and obviously they fixed this error that I'm about to bring up, because in the original version, there's a panel where here on this page 7, Ben Husal explains to Conan that it was his niece, Rachalla, who found him lying in just off the caravan route. And so it's her that ultimately rescued him. He then tells Conan that, he does actually need a good sword arm. They're in need of a good sword arm. Conan kind of spits back that most men that he meets, they seem to need a good sword arm. And Rachalla fires back at Conan that her uncle is a kind man, and he would have helped Conan regardless. But in the original version, there's actually a typo, and Roy blames himself for it in the book, so I don't know if the typo was his mistake when he, was scripting the dialogue in this issue. But the original issue, she refers to her uncle as her father in this panel. It's the only moment in the issue where she refers to him as father, even though he's her uncle, which makes that an obvious mistake. But it looks like at some point when Marvel released, or maybe this was somebody who just did this on their own. This is just some scans I found, and this has obviously been recolored. It looks completely different from the original issue, or even what Titan put out, because Titan put out when they reprinted these books recently, they're putting them out with the original coloring. But whoever recolored this issue, they fixed that one word from father to uncle. So I'm willing to bet that it was Marvel who did that. Not at the time when they reacquired the Conan license in the 2000s and they started reprinting all this stuff. Though this version, this colored, the way that this issue, these scans that I'm looking at of this issue, the way it's recolored, they're not part of the Epic collection that Marvel put out at that point either. So I don't know, that had the original coloring. So I don't know where this scan comes from, but I'm looking at it. So there you go. But anyway, it's at this point that Ben Husal tells Conan his story. He was the lord of a sleepy little fishing village called Kishan, and a sea god, one full moon, comes out of the sea and starts killing people. So they have a priest in town who is a priest of the dark god Erlich, He has the really stupid name of Gul Azazel. I only pronounce it that way because of the name Azazel, which I believe was in a name that they used in a Denzel Washington movie where he was an FBI guy or a cop who was actually battling a demon. It's pretty good. I don't remember the name of the movie. Anyway, it could be Azalel, but I'm pronouncing it as Azazel because it's spelled exactly like Azazel. It's just that the second Z is an L. Azazel. Anyway, Azazel comes up to old freaking Ben and tells him that in order to appease the sea god, who's obviously hungry, they have to start sacrificing virgins every month.
What? Was it something I said?
She's a virgin. She just told me.
Well, I didn't know.
Well, it's not like spotting a toupee.
And not just virgins, women virgins, because who cares about men virgins, I guess? I don't know. And so they chain a woman out on the rocks, a virgin, when the next full moon comes, and sure enough, the sea god comes out of the sea and devours her. But then on the 5th month, once old Ben here decided, all right, we're going to start sacrificing our young women. By month 5, after they had sacrificed 4 women already, by month 5, Gul Azazel tells Ben that, I'm just going to call him Gul. Gul tells Ben that Ben's niece Rachalla is next. She needs to be sacrificed next. And that's when Ben and Rachalla flee. But they've been gone for what do they say here? They've been gone for a year. They get word from a messenger that Gul is dead and it's safe for them to return. And so Conan asks, well, if it's safe for you to return, what do you need me for? And Ben tells him that basically, just in case it's not safe. We don't know. It's just the word of one guy. We don't know what we're walking into. We could use your sword. Conan, who this whole time has been laying in this bed, in this tent, he's naked.
Completely naked.
Completely naked.
He's got a big fur rug or a big fur blanket on, but he's naked under this blanket, and he asks Ben where his clothes are, and Ben tells him that his clothes had the smell of the king's court on them, and not everybody out this way are fans of the king. And so he burned Conan's clothes, but he tells him not to worry. We will provide you with some new clothes, which is just a furry kilt, a furry cape, and some furry boots. So Conan's back to wearing the furs. Anyway, a few nights later, they make it to the village. They creep in under cover of night. And yeah, sure enough, it's a trap.
It's a trap! Just kidding. We'll get there later.
There's the dark priest, Gul Azazel, is not dead. He's waiting for them, hiding with a bunch of warriors. And as soon as Ben, Conan, and Rachalla enter the city, they attack. And there's just too many of them. Even Conan can't fight them all off. Eventually, he's hit in the back of the head with a big stick, and Conan goes down.
Suppose he's got a pointed stick.
When he wakes up, he is tied to a stake. And the stake, it's like a freaking telephone pole. That's how big around this freaking stake is. And next to him is Ben. He's tied to a similar stake. They have their hands bound behind them around the stake, basically, or each of they have their own stake. That's kind of nice, individual stakes. But Conan, he's clearing the cobwebs out of his head. There are men around with spears and axes and stuff. And he asks Ben where his niece is. And Ben, in a panic, "Don't you see, man? Don't you see? She's out there!" And that's when we see that Rachalla is tied up, chained to the rock out just offshore, out in the ocean just offshore, and awaiting the dragon. And again, up to this point, Rachalla is covered head to toe in clothing. Just her face is showing. That's the only skin on her body. Maybe her hands. I don't think she's wearing gloves. But at this point, as she's on this rock, all she has left, it looks like she's just wearing like a slip that would be under her dress, and it's all torn and raggedy. And again, it makes me wonder, is Roy trying to say that some of the men got a little fresh with her? I mean, they couldn't do anything because she has to be a virgin, right? But maybe they still did. I don't know. I don't know why I'm dwelling on that, but I just find it weird that, well, I guess now that I think about it, it could just be that when they were getting her ready, they just tore her clothes off of her until what she had left was this raggedy slip that ripped in various places as they were quickly removing her clothing because you know them sea gods, they like half-naked ladies. Anyway, at this point, Conan hears this sound, haunting music, and we see Ghoul standing on the shore off to the side somewhere, and he's playing the strings of a lyre or a lyre. I think it's a lyre. Who cares? And it's this music, apparently, that summons the sea god at this point so that it can come and get its sacrifice. Conan, seeing this happen, of course, he's not going to allow this to happen. He's pissed. He yells out the name of his god, Crom, and straining his steely thews, he pulls the stake out of the ground. And so he's standing there, still strapped to it behind his back, and he starts swinging it around. He's swinging his body around so that the stake that he's just pulled out of the ground is now whacking all these guys around him, knocking them out, breaking their faces, all that junk. And then he starts running with this stake still strapped to his back. He runs over towards a structure, some kind of building there, leaps at the stone wall head first, and as the top of the stake strikes the wall, it kind of smashes into the wall, breaks apart. Not like completely, it's just like the top of the stake breaks apart, but it's enough apparently to come loose from the ropes, and Conan is now free from both the ropes and the stake. So he runs down to the ocean or the inland sea, beats up some more dudes. This is a very nice bit here. I'm not sure what page this is story-wise because I've kind of lost count. It's either 12 or 13. But as Conan is running from the top of this hill where he was staked, he comes running down to the shore. There's a good bit of narration here that Roy put together. As for the Turanians on the shore, they stand, swords at the ready, prepared for anything human, but not for a mad, snarling demon out of the barbarian west. A demon which hurls itself headlong into their very midst, seeming almost to glory in the tumbling of bodies and broadswords, till it makes one of those swords its own, and plunges without stopping into the frothing midnight sea. And so that's when Conan, he beats everybody up. He takes out all these guys, and it's not until after they've been taken out that he picks up the sword. I don't know if he knocks them out or if he just basically just runs through them like a frickin' guy with a football. I'm not a sports guy. I don't know what that's called. But, you know, he barrels through them, knocks them on their asses, hits them so hard that one of the guys drops his sword, and without stopping, Conan snatches up the sword and continues running. Maybe that's what's happened. He hasn't actually taken out any of these guys. He's just knocked them on their butts, grabbed up a sword, and he just keeps running. Jumps into the sea. Sword is now clutched in his teeth. He swims out to the big stone that Rachalla is tied to, is chained to, and he sets her free, but it's too late as the dragon bursts out of the sea, and it's like I said, it's a great big crocodile.
Look at the size of him! This croc is massive!
And it's big, don't get me wrong. I mean, it looks like it could easily swallow Conan in one gulp. Conan is about the size of the thing's snout. Maybe Conan might be a little bigger, but it's a great big-ass crocodile. And if you know anything about me, I'm not a big fan of the alligators or the crocodiles, you know, the crocodilians in general. They scare me. I have a healthy respect for them. I think they're cool as hell. But I would never live anywhere where they're just roaming free. Florida, bunch of weirdos in Florida, just living side by side with gators and crocs, or I don't know what they have in Florida. It doesn't matter. Anyway, the episode in which we talked about the Neil Adams, Conan, you know, the issue Curse of the Golden Skull. Alice, what issue is that? This is where I pretend like I'm actually talking to somebody, but that'll come later. That's all happened. That happened in post, folks. So I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head which freaking issue that is.
The issue Stephen is referring to is Conan the Barbarian, number 37, The Curse of the Golden Skull.
That's why I have Alice to tell us. Anyway, in that episode, I complained about when they have quote-unquote dragons in the Conan world and they're basically just giant lizards, how that just drives me nuts. For some reason, this sea dragon being a giant crocodile doesn't bother me in any way. I find it kind of cool, in fact. I don't know why. I don't know why a giant crocodile I can take, but just a great big lizard, I have a problem. I don't know. I can't explain it, folks. Anyway, Conan immediately, of course, protects Rachalla by attacking this giant crocodile. And the crocodile comes at Conan, tries to eat him. Conan dodges. And as the crocodile snaps its jaws together, getting nothing but the air where Conan was standing just moments before, Conan plunges the sword into the top of the thing's snout. So it pierces through the top of the mouth, into the mouth, and then through the bottom of the mouth, and kind of pins the crocodile's mouth shut a bit. And then he dives into the ocean after Rachalla to escape. Crocodile follows him, of course. And there's this moment here, this page where the crocodile is coming out of the ocean, chasing Conan. I love this page because, first of all, the image of this crocodile coming out of the ocean with Conan running ahead of it, it looks really cool. I can see it in a movie. I can see it happening. And I can hear the music, bum, 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 that kind of stuff, right? Like Godzilla type shit. Because it's just kind of, you get the feeling, even though crocodiles can be very fast, and I think they do mention at some point in here that it is a very fast moving beast, it feels almost like it's just kind of lethargically moving its way out of the ocean. This, you can hear, like I said, the music, bum, 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 drums and stuff, and people are screaming, "Oh my God, here it comes, everybody run!" And the men down on the shore with the dark priest, they're telling him, you got to play the music again to drive it away. That's the only thing. That's what you got to do. The priest, Gulazalo, however, he runs for his life. And when he does so, all the other men scatter as well. They all run back toward the village, and there's like a gate to get into the village. The village has a wall around it. There's a gate to get into the village. All these men are now massed there at the gate to try to stop this creature. Ben Hussal is there, and he points out that, the thing bleeds. It's not a god. It's a monster. We can kill it.
Hither Came Conan will return after these messages.
Do you love podcasting but hate editing? Do you have a number of episodes recorded but just can't find the time to get them edited and ready for release? Do you need help and you're not sure what to do? Well, come talk to me. My name is Stephen Orr. I have over a decade of experience recording and editing my own podcasts, and I want to put those skills to work for you. I can remove that background noise. I can reduce silences. I'll remove all of your ums and your uhs, as well as your throat clearings, sneezes, and coughs and such. And I can even add your music and whatnot. And hey, my prices are quite reasonable. Check out edityourpod.com to get started. That's edityourpod.com, or just reach out to me directly. Email edityourpod@gmail.com. Tell me what you need, and I'll tell you how I can help. And more importantly, I'll quote you a cost. Edityourpod.com. Get started today.
It is critical you pay attention at this time.
Ready to blast off into Marvel's Novaverse? Join Xandar Radio, a Nova podcast, your ultimate destination for everything Nova. I'm Doug Smith, producer and co-host of Xandar Radio. We bring you news, deep dive reviews, fan spotlights, creator interviews, and epic roundtable discussions. Whether you're a diehard fan of Annihilation, The New Warriors, or love the various Nova runs, this is your show. So grab your Nova helmet, power up, and tune in at novaprimepage.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Xandar Radio, because the Nova Corps needs you.
And now back to Hither Came Conan.
And at the bottom of this page is probably my favorite panel in this entire issue, and it's the crocodile bursting through the gate. It's just an archway, a stone archway. There's nothing, there's not a portcullis or an actual, wrought iron gate, anything like that. But it's bursting through this arch, and it's big enough that the sides of the arch, the stone is crumbling away on either side. There's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 6 or 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, they're just dudes all over it and underneath it. Conan is one of them, and they're just all trying to frickin' kill this giant frickin' crocodile, right? I'm going to keep saying frickin' because it's my favorite panel in this issue, and it's my favorite panel in a Conan book for a while. It's a great panel. Conan picks up the lyre and starts just plucking chords at random, and he's not trying to actually play any kind of tune. I think he's trying to distract the crocodile, the dragon, and it works because he wants the dragon to chase him. And so it does. It starts chasing him through the street, and they go down a certain street or a certain path, and there's men up on the walls of these buildings, up on the roof, and they throw down a big net on top of the thing, on top of the creature, which now has not only Conan's sword plunged through its mouth, it's got spears sticking out of it and whatnot. The net falls on top of it, doesn't do a lot to impede its progress. It just rips its way through the net. And then it just starts chasing Conan through the city, through the streets of this town, through this sleepy fishing village. And it traps Conan. Conan runs into a domicile, and the creature comes after him. Can't get all the way in, but it's basically got Conan trapped. Conan is huddled in the fireplace in this house, and I can't tell if he's holding what he's holding. He might just be holding a rock for all I can see. I don't think he's got his sword anymore. Well, obviously he doesn't. It's in the dragon's snout. But I think it looks like Conan he's ready to die. He knows it's going to happen. But then somebody calls out and forces the dragon to turn and walk away. Conan recognizes the voice. It's Ghul Azalel, and he's up on the roof of another building, and he's clutching Rachalla by her arm. He's got her hanging off of the roof. He's just holding her by the arm, and he's yelling at the dragon.
Here, harbinger of Erlich, see? You'll not be cheated of your sacrifice. Tell your dark lord I have served him, and serve him still.
Rachalla, of course, not very excited about this turn of events. And so we have Ghul Azalel standing atop this roof. It's a pitched roof, too, which makes it really weird. The dude's got perfect balance because he can stand here on this pitched roof. And it's like, I don't know, good Lord, that's at least a 15, 20, 25 degree angle. And he's standing there on it, holding Rachalla by the arm. He's just by one hand, he's holding her by the arm, dangling her over the side. The crocodile starts to come at her. It's trying to climb up the wall. You know, it's got its back legs on the ground and its front legs are up on the wall, and it's trying to get at her. And then Ghul Azalel, Ghul, drops her. She doesn't land in the thing's mouth or anything. She lands in a pile of hay next to it. But before the creature can get her, Conan is there with a torch, and he is waving the torch at the crocodile, trying to, keep it away. And that's when Ben Hussal, the leader of the town, comes riding in on a horse with his scimitar, leading a band of men, and they all just start attacking this giant crocodile. Conan goes over to a fence. This fence is made of it's a very basic looking fence, but the posts are these big round posts that are almost as big around as the stake that he was tied to. So they're practically phone pole size as far as the width, the circumference. It's a big poles, these posts, and they're sharp on top. It's like they made these giants, these stakes for the fence, but it's Conan decides to use it as a weapon, and he pulls the slats of wood from the side of one of these posts, and then he pulls the post out of the ground because he's so fucking strong, and he grabs the thing and holds it like if you've seen Braveheart, there's the scene in the movie where the English cavalry are coming, and William Wallace and all of his Scotsmen, they have these big spears, and they drive the butts of the spears into the ground, and they hold the spears before them. So when the horses come, the horses basically ride into the spear points. Well, that's what Conan does with this stake. He takes the butt of the stake, drives into the ground, and he's holding it in both hands in front of him, kind of crouched, so it's leaning a bit on his leg for support. And he's in the view of the crocodile. The crocodile wants Rachalla, who's behind Conan, so it comes charging at them, and boom, runs straight into this stake, runs straight into the creature. The creature is now mortal. Well, we don't know if it's mortally wounded, but it's hurt enough that at this point it just kind of forgets all these people around it and eventually heads back into the ocean. Before then, however, Gul Azazel, pissed off that Conan dares best the sea god, comes at Conan from behind. He's got a big double-bladed half-moon axe. Conan blocks his swing, picks the guy up, throws him at the dragon. Gul Azazel sails through the air, hits the dragon. The dragon still has like netting all over it. It escaped from the net. It basically shredded it enough that its legs were free, but there's a bit still hanging around its neck like a freaking scarf. And so this dragon, this crocodile, has this netting all around its neck. It's got this giant stake driven into its chest. And now when Gul Azazel hit the dragon, it hits the netting and he gets stuck there. So the dragon, in pain, crawls off back into the ocean to nurse its wounds. The narration does say that it is mortally wounded, so we're assuming then that it's going back into, not to nurse its wounds, but going back into the ocean to die. And it takes Gul Azazel with him. But it's here at the end that we get a little surprise, a little secret twist, because it's here that we learn that, well, here, let me just read you this conversation. Starting with Conan.
Gone. His ambition called forth dragons, and they killed him.
Ben Husau replies,
No, it was not ambition, but madness plagued him so. You keep calling him that. You who fled his ambition. Why? Ask Rachalla. Well?
My uncle is no coward. He fled because Gul Azazel had gone mad, and because he could not bring himself to slay his own brother. My father.
That's how the issue ends. Next time it says, the fiend from the forgotten city. Yeah, I'm not sure why I said it that way. Anyway, they just keep getting better and better. I love the crap out of this issue. This was so much fun. There just really wasn't a lot to it as far as, there wasn't any intrigue or backstabbing, any of that kind of stuff we've been seeing in when he's in Turin with the court and Amethyst and all that crap. But this is just a straightforward monster fight. And it's not just Conan. The whole village helps him fight this giant crocodile. And it was awesome. I would love to see this issue by itself turned into some kind of live action thing, because I think it would be a lot of fun. This is one of these one-off stories that you could come into this issue, read it from front to back. You wouldn't need to know anything that happened before or anything that happened after. This is all you need, is this one issue. And, I can't seem to find it now, but I feel like there's a moment in here where Conan mentions, or maybe the narration mentions, because he's heading to Zamora, right? I feel like there's a moment here where, let me see if I can find it real quick. I can't find it. Maybe I dreamed it. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. I feel like I read in this issue at some point, somebody mentions, because Conan's heading to Zamora, and I feel like somebody mentions, either himself or the narrator, that it's been 3 years since the last time he was in Zamora. And the last time he was in Zamora would have been around issue 3 or 4, the Tower of the Elephant, that took place in Zamora. So that's not long after he left the north, where he was fighting the Icer the Vanir with the Icer. And he was 18 or 20 when he left at that point. So he's like 18, 19, 20. I think it's 20 in the book. I can't remember now. Alice, can you look that up for me?
According to the narration from Conan the Barbarian #1, Conan was born on the battlefield not 20 winters ago, making the Cimmerian just 20 years old when the series begins. From there, Conan first arrives in Zamora in Conan the Barbarian #4, the Tower of the Elephant, and he remained in Zamora through issues 5 and 6.
But if this is 3 years since he's been to Zamora, we can maybe guess that at this point he's about 23, 24, somewhere around there. I find that interesting, but I can't seem to find the moment where it mentions that it's been 3 years since he's been to Zamora. Maybe it's the next issue, because I've read the next issue as well. It's probably the next issue. I'm probably jumping the gun here. But anyway, this was a great issue. I enjoyed the crap out of it. I hope to read more just like it. But yeah, that's all I have to say about Conan the Barbarian number 39, The Dragon from the Inland Sea. What about y'all? If you have anything you'd like to add, let me know. The easiest way to do that is by email. The address is feedback@hithercameconan.com. Shoot me a line, and who knows? Who knows? Maybe I'll read it out on a future episode. Who knows? Who knows?
Everybody out!
In our next episode, Conan treks across a merciless desert and is lured by a dying man's promise of a lost city overflowing with forgotten riches. Amid its bone-littered ruins, the Cimmerian tangles with ruthless thieves, a mysterious woman, and a dark power that should never have been awakened. That's next time when we take a look at Conan the Barbarian number 40, The Fiend from the Forgotten City, published in April of 1974. The synopsis used in this episode was taken from marvelfandom.com, and bits of it were rewritten by me. The information used in this episode comes from Wikipedia, along with Mike's Amazing World of Comics at mikesamazingworld.com, and of course the book, Barbarian Life, a literary biography of Conan the Barbarian, Volume 1 by Roy Thomas, which you can get now at SumerianPress.com. And finally, the views and opinions expressed within this episode are mine and mine alone, and do not reflect the official policy or position of Marvel Comics, Roy Thomas, the Howard Estate, Conan, his sword, his steely thews, his many fans and supporters, and especially his god, Crom.
From Labs to the Four Winds.
So until next time, folks, keep your swords close by, never stop treading them jeweled thrones, and as always, be nice to each other. Bye!
We would like to thank you for listening to this episode of Hither Came Conan. Questions and comments can be directed to feedback@hithercameconan.com. If you enjoyed the show, you can help to boost our presence online by leaving a rating or review on your favorite podcast app. We would also like to invite you to join our subscription program, Stephen or Else Beyond. And in return, you'll get episodes of Hither Came Conan early and ad-free. Check out the link in the show notes, or just go to hithercameconan.com to sign up today. Hither Came Conan is a presentation of Stephen or Else Media. For more nerdy content hosted by Stephen, check out SoManyPodcasts.com. All links will be in the show notes.
Surly bandits. I like the word surly. I picked it because it's something Gus McCrae would say in Lonesome Dove. You know, whacking a passel of surly bandits. I like that. Anyway, Conan is traveling west to Zamora when he is waylaid. Just happens to be the lord of the small village Kishan on the coast of the Viliot Sea. Kishan. Who, it turns out, just happens to be the lord of a small village. Just happens to be the blah, 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 blah. Kishan. Why do I keep saying it stupidly? That is, he was the lord of the small village Kishan on the coast of the Viliot Sea. Now he's been run out by a priest of Erlich by the name of Gul Azalel. That's a stupid name. Azalel. Gul Azalel. Azalel. Is it Rachalla or Rachalla? God damn it, now I gotta look it up. I spelled it wrong. I spelled it differently both times. Rachalla. Booba doba doba, badoba da baba. This is me just wasting some time while I look it up on my phone. Where's the issue? There it is. Okay, let's see. Here's the issue. We're going to look it up here. Let's see here. Rachalla. So I should probably back up a little bit, or at least do this one paragraph. The synopsis used in this episode is coming out of your butt. The views and opinions expressed within this episode are mine and mine alone, and do not affect or relevant.
I just don't think I can move through life knowing that a guy named Steven did this to me.
How could you let this happen, Steven?
Your podcast sucks.
Enough talk.
Great Crom